The Little Mermaid, unfortunately, does not redeem the live-action genre. Hey everyone, Bruce from What's Popping here, and today we're going to be talking about the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. Now, there will be some spoilers scattered throughout here, but the plot of the movie is pretty much the same as the animated classic, so unless you're seeing this for the first time, you should be completely safe. Disney has been missing the mark, to say the least, with its live-action remakes. Probably the most passable one so far is Beauty and the Beast. That could just be because I'm a huge Beauty and the Beast fan, and I fell into the nostalgia trap, and it kind of got me there, so, take my opinion on Beauty and the Beast with a little bit of a grain of salt. But The Little Mermaid, unfortunately, does not redeem the live-action genre, in my opinion. The movie fell flat in so many ways, which is such a shame because you have such incredible source material, and ultimately the metric I use to determine whether or not these live-action remakes are any good is when I want to go back to the story, am I going to go back to the original or am I going to go back to the live-action remake? And once again, in this case, I'm going back to the original time and time again, which is an absolute shame because the cast do such an impeccable job in this film. Everything that is good in this movie is kind of in spite of the decision-making, the direction, and the poor creative decisions taken by Disney. I think the cast do their best to knock this movie out of the park, and for their part, pretty much everybody in the film nails their roles. I think Halle Bailey was an amazing Ariel. I bought her from the get-go. The young man that they cast as Eric was absolutely incredible. I do not like Melissa McCarthy at all, and she killed it as Ursula. And I think the reason she did that was she definitely looked at the original material and kind of copied Ursula stroke for stroke. The way she delivers the lines, her timing, her mannerisms are very much in tune with the cartoon. And she just brings it. And every scene she was in, she absolutely stole it for me, which, as someone who's not a Melissa McCarthy fan, is something that is very difficult for me to say. Even the things that I was really skeptical about, which were the fact that we now had these live-action versions of Sebastian and Scuttle, were kind of... I forgot that they were live-action versions. I fell in love with them throughout the film because the voice acting was so good. The casting throughout was amazing. Ariel in particular, I think she had a lot of pressure going to this role, and that didn't show at all because I bought her as Ariel. I bought her as the lead character, as this curious mermaid who's a bit rebellious and making some tough decisions as she goes about her journey, and I fell in love with that. The characters had great chemistry. Her and Prince Eric were absolutely amazing. It's what I would picture on the live screen. So you're probably saying to me, Bruce, you're saying all these great things about the actors and about the performances. Why wasn't the movie any good? And ultimately, I think it comes down to the fact that at the end of the day, these fantastical stories do so much better when they are animated. As an audience, when something is in live action, you are far less forgiving of little mistakes and little things that you go, that doesn't look quite right. And from the onset of this movie, it is incredibly dark. You can see where the budget went. All of the scenes on land in this movie blew me away. I think they were phenomenally done. As I said, the cast have great chemistry. So when they're on land, when you're not too worried about the underwater world and the visual effects, you kind of just get whisked off into the world and it takes you away and you start to buy into the story. But every now and then something happens that just pulls you out of it and you go, no, just why? Stick to the original. You know that you have a good movie in there somewhere. And I spoke to my friend, we were watching the movie together, Caleb Janssens. Go check out his channel. He also put out a review on The Little Mermaid. Lots of thoughts. Definitely go and check him out. I'll link everything down below. But we spoke about it, at length after this movie and kind of said to each other, there is a really good movie in there. It's just every time you start getting into it, Disney does something small, a poor creative decision, a poor bit of direction that pulls you completely out of the story. And this movie is disappointing, but not for the reasons you would think. I mean, Disney has incredible budgets and everything underwater looked terrible. It is incredibly dark. For the opening scenes, when you first see King Triton's kingdom, it is dark, it is dreary, it is, I was expecting like an Aquaman level spectacle of this Atlantean underwater vibe, and it just wasn't there. There was such a poor contrast between what is meant to be the vibrant reef where King Triton and everybody lives and Ursula's lair, and there wasn't even a big enough contrast between that. There is a scene where all of the mermaids are kind of going over a shipwreck and talking about how humans have destroyed the ocean and wrecked the reef and absolutely destroyed everything, and that reef growing on the shipwreck was probably the best looking reef in the film. So those little moments just completely, you lose it. And that is something that has happened with this live action. They've tried too much to bring realism into a world that is meant to be fantastical. As an audience, you just struggle to forgive that, especially in scenes like where they do the Under the Sea song. They kind of showcase species one at a time, and the beauty of that song is that it's this complete cacophony of ocean sounds and animals, and it pulls you in. And there's probably about 10 seconds at the end of the song where they actually have all of the characters on screen and a full ocean, where the sea life are doing their thing and playing on the shells, and it's awesome for about 10 seconds, and then the ocean goes blank again, and there's suddenly nothing there. As I mentioned, King Triton's kingdom is dark and dreary. If you remember the animated film, it's this magical, fantastical world that you as an audience want to be a part of, and you kind of question why Ariel would want to leave the underwater world in the first place, in this incredibly beautiful kingdom. Watching this, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure she wants to be a part of our world. There's nothing down there that's captivating or exciting, and I even thought it would be a cool opportunity for, King Triton to kind of sell Ariel on how bad humans are and say, look how terrible our ocean looks. Since the humans have been in this area, our fish have disappeared, and the reef is dying. And I thought maybe at the end of the film, when the two worlds come together, they would maybe use that as a moment to brighten the reef and show how, maybe the shadow of the animosity that King Triton had towards the people was removed and the reef came to life. It didn't. It just fell flat. And every underwater sequence, which in The Little Mermaid is so pivotal, just fell so terribly flat. And speaking about those underwater moments, you really struggle as an audience to buy into certain things that happen. I mean, like I said, the animation is far more forgiving. We have a scene where Scuttle dives in and flat out kills a fish in front of Flounder, and Flounder doesn't do anything about it, which, again, strange creative decision. Just let Scuttle come underwater and speak to them. But we now have a Gannet speaking underwater. And that just to me was, I know Gannets can't speak underwater. So, there's a disconnect between what I'm seeing on the screen, what I know to be true. You're trying to show me a visual that is meant to be true and representative. You've got halfway there with the Gannet, but now he's speaking underwater. So it just falls completely apart for me. Another massive negative in this film, and I'm sorry for all the negatives because I do love The Little Mermaid, and again, I feel so bad because the cast absolutely gave their all, but the new songs fell flat. And it's something that Caleb and I spoke about quite a bit. We broke down this movie. This is going to be quite a short review that's all over the place, but we spoke for hours about this film after we came out of the cinema. And the new song that they gave Eric is meant to be really endearing and help you to understand his journey and where he is. And he is belting the song out. He is giving it his all. You fall in love with the actor, but you just, the backing track and the audio, the lyrics are just not there to support him. And again, it breaks your heart because there are so many good things in this film. All of the stuff with Ursula, really, really good. And probably because the film was so dark, everything done in Ursula's lair feels true to the original and really pulls you in. So that worked really well. But the darkness, Disney, please just get a lighting crew. I mean, you don't need a lighting crew. It's filmed underwater in, blue screen. So, Another big problem with this film is they really don't trust the audience. You can feel that they feel like they need to take your hand and guide you all the way through the film. And probably the biggest point that shows that was the fact that when Ariel gets on land, we know she's lost her voice, she starts singing. And we are seeing the world, instead of seeing her interact with the world and learn about it from her perspective, we're actually getting her audio and her dialogue explaining what she is seeing, which breaks the cardinal rule of filmmaking, which is show, don't tell. They don't trust the audience enough to let you figure out what Ariel's doing, and it loses a lot of its charm, which really, really sucks. And the whole story of Ariel and Eric falling in love is kind of dampened by that, because they make these strange decisions where there is a scene where Eric and Ariel are starting to connect, and it's really well done, and it's made very clear that Eric is looking for this woman that saved him on the beach, and he hands her a Little Mermaid figure. And Ariel, in that moment, doesn't have the idea to take the Little Mermaid doll and say, Little Mermaid, me, that's me, I'm the one who saved you. And it just really, really irritates you as an audience, because you start to feel like this character has been made dumb as soon as she got on land, and she is anything but dumb. Halle's performance is full of charisma, full of charm, full of curiosity. And for a character that is so curious and so willing to go on land, she kind of just gets on land and goes flat, which really, really hurt those on land aspects of the film, which were again some of the best aspects of this movie. If this is a film that you are seeing for the first time, you're probably going to enjoy it far more if this is your introduction to The Little Mermaid. If you have seen the animated classic, you're going to see this. You're going to see some strange creative decisions that are really going to pull you out of the story. Scuttle ends up doing a rap song, which really throws you, because it's really important that Awkwafina gets the dialogue across quite quickly in that scene. It's quite time sensitive, and this whole long rap just completely ruins that moment for you. So if you are visiting this film for the first time, this is your introduction, you're probably going to enjoy it, because the characters are there, there's great charisma, there's great chemistry between the cast, they all work together really well. But again, everything that works in this movie is kind of in spite of the creative decisions taken by Disney. And that is so disappointing as a lifelong Disney fan who absolutely loves these movies, loves the originals. I'm going to be going back to the original every single time. And as with anything, if you're going to remake something, it has to be either as good as the original or better. Unfortunately, for The Little Mermaid, that just wasn't the case.